What's up, Squad? Welcome back to another Brawl Stars video. Today I'm going to give you a ton of tips on how to get your map published in game with the new voting system that just came with the latest update that we're going to start seeing within the next week. So basically how it works is that you can make your own map in the new map maker, and then you need to get it verified by playing it with people on your friends list and having them approve the map. And as long as you have a greater than 50% approval rate, you can publish the map, and that's when it's going to go into the global map pool. And so what's going to happen is once this feature is finally out, there will be a map slot where you will get someone else's map, and it'll switch that map every 10 seconds. So you're going to be getting a ton of different maps. You're only going to be able to play each map once. And when you play it, you're going to be faced with random opponents, but you aren't going to gain or lose any trophies. And at the end of the match, you're either going to give the map a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And so the map that gets the most votes every single day is going to be put into another map slot, which is permanent for that day. So if you want to get your map into this slot, you're going to need to get the most votes out of every other map that was submitted. And there are probably going to be thousands and thousands of these maps. So you're really going to have to make your map stand out. So let's go over exactly what you can do to significantly increase your chances of rising to the top. So the first key part about this is that you really need to make sure your map has some sort of visual attraction, because some people might just constantly play this rotating map slot, but some people might just wait until they see a map that they particularly want to play. Now, I'm not 100% sure that you're going to be able to preview the map beforehand. If you do, then the visual attraction portion of it is going to be even more important, but even if you don't, it is still important to just have a really good looking map. So to do this, you want to make sure that your map is overall really symmetric. If it just looks like random stuff is thrown everywhere, obviously it's not going to look as good. But the thing is, you also don't want to make your map too symmetric, because when a map is just symmetric in basically every direction, it just looks kind of boring and it's not that interesting to look at, and it won't really entice people to play. So you want a good mix of symmetry and asymmetry, because asymmetry is what's going to generate that interest, and the symmetry is what's going to make it look polished and clean. So a great way to do this is to just use diagonal symmetry across the whole map, and that's going to create the sense of symmetry and similarity because it's sort of the same, just mirrored in both directions. But because it's mirrored diagonally rather than up and down or left to right, it looks fairly asymmetrical. So this is a map that I recently created. I'm not saying this is the best map ever. There's still quite a few things about it that I don't particularly like, but overall I'm fairly happy with how it turned out, and I think it'll help illustrate a lot of the points I'm going to talk about. So in this map, I basically did the entire thing using the diagonal symmetry. There are a few decorations that were sort of randomly placed to make it look a bit more asymmetrical, but other than that, all the stuff that affects the gameplay is completely diagonally symmetric. And another point that's important for this visual attraction is that it just needs to look like there's going to be some sort of fun aspect in the game, whether that's just a bunch of teleporters in crazy spots or just really interestingly placed walls that you're not going to see on any other map. Those sort of things are going to draw in people to make them want to play your map, because that's going to be the only time they get to experience that sort of interaction. So you really want to make sure you're doing something different than a lot of the maps that are out there right now. So you don't just want to sort of make a bunch of blobs of blocks and grass, because we already have so many maps that are basically just that. My map uses a lot of the new rope fences that you can shoot through but you can't walk through. I think they're pretty underused in Brawl Ball maps, so I thought it'd be interesting to use quite a few of them in the center. It's not the most interesting thing in the world. I definitely could have spiced it up even more, but I've tested it a bit and the gameplay definitely feels different than a normal Brawl Ball map, which is a good thing. And then finally, for this visual attraction portion, you want to have some sort of recognizable theme. This isn't the most crucial, but it'll just help tie everything together and give it a lot more visual interest. Like on my map, I used a lot of these 4-tile squiggles, and that sort of ties the whole thing together. I know that curves and spirals are also really visually interesting, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're not going overboard with this and just making it a really horrible and annoying map to play on despite it looking really good. So that brings us into the next important part, is the gameplay on the map. You want to entice them with the visuals and make sure that they like it at the end because it had really good gameplay. So basically your main goal is to make these people come away feeling like they had a lot of fun on your map and would want to play it more. So one of the most important things that you have to do gameplay wise is to just make it fair. And this will come if you use symmetry. If everything's symmetric, then it's just inherently fair. But you also want to make sure that games last a decent amount of time and they're not over in like 2 seconds, because then everything is is prone to RNG, and when random things happen, people aren't happy, they didn't have fun, and it doesn't feel fair. And so that's not going to get them to like the map. You also don't want to make sure that the map is too cramped, because then just going to be really annoying to walk around in. I think my map might be slightly too cramped. It did feel a bit awkward to walk around in some spots, so maybe I will fix that in the future. But yeah, you want to give them enough space to dodge and pull off cool plays so they feel like they really had fun and were able to do cool things on your map. Another way to do this is to just make them think differently than with a normal map. This sort of goes along with what I was talking about before, where you want to have some fun interactions on the map that you wouldn't typically see on other maps, like the teleporters or a really cool formation of blocks that really changes up the way you're playing the game. That's going to make the people who are playing your map think a lot more and be a lot more excited when they actually pull off these new strategies in these entirely different situations. I know a lot of people are probably going to make like just straight up meme maps where they just fill the entire map with like bones or something like that, or they just put all 4 sets of teleporters going from both sides of the map, just random things like this that are just really memey. But honestly, that's not a terrible idea. As long as it doesn't make the game end really quickly, people are still probably going to like your map because people like memes. That's just how it works. And it would be really funny if we saw a meme map become permanent for a day in Brawl Stars. I mean, we have Naruk Narivak, the best map of all time, that came to Brawl Stars, so I think that's great evidence as to why meme maps are actually not a bad idea. So as long as you make a good meme map, I think it definitely has potential to make it to the top. It's a good example of how things that are different, like filling an entire map with bones that you obviously wouldn't see on any other map in Brawl Stars, those interesting and new things are what's going to make people like your map more. And then the last thing is to just make sure to test your map. Just playing your map with bots and obviously the friendly games that you're going to do if you want people to approve your map, it's really important to do that just to get feedback from yourself and from others on which parts feel really annoying and uncomfortable to move around in, or which parts feel unfair, things like that. You're going to be able to really polish things up if you test. And that's all you can really do to make sure that your map is as good as possible. But in the end, it will rely on a bit of luck. Some people might just be online more when they hit someone else's map as opposed to yours, and so more people will be voting that map, and you can just get unlucky. I'm sure there will be plenty of really good maps in the poll, and since you can only choose one every day, some really good maps aren't going to make it. But hopefully these tips make you excited about making a new map, and hopefully some of you can get a really good map with a ton of votes, and maybe even make it out on top. You'll have to let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to join the Send Squad by subscribing, turning on notifications, and going to your settings and enabling notifications there as well. But that's all for today, guys, so see you later.